The next question I have is, how was writing the S&S Axis Prototype? I believe you're the first guest that I've had who's actually written it, believe it or not. So,
Yeah, so
yeah.
I got to go to Utah late last year, I think September, like around now actually last year, and
Wow.
my friend Josiah National Coasters needed guests to go with him to ride Axis, and he invited me out, and so he's the reason I got to ride it. So full credit goes to him, of course, but it was a great experience. Everyone at S&S is super nice and very hospitable to the point where they'll just take you around the facility, show you around. You don't even have to ask. They'll tell you about the ride. I actually got 2 rides on Axis, not just one. They let me go twice, and so I tried it once in the very front, once in the very back, because obviously there's 2 rows, and it's a really cool design. I love like the swivel effect. It's so hard to explain. It's unlike anything I can explain. It's like mix an arrow suspended, make the rotations really smooth and really graceful. But you flip upside down. Sometimes you have like crazy moments of airtime, like upside down airtime and lateral
Wow.
moments. It's a really cool design. I cannot wait to see one go to a park. They did tell me there that they had sold an Axis to a park, or at least were in talks to sell an Axis to a park. And so I look forward to seeing which park that ends up going to. That'll be really cool.
That's awesome. And you said the people there at S&S were like they were, you said, very hospitable. I don't know where the prototype is. Is it near? I mean, I assume it is it nearby
It's
a factory of theirs or?
Yeah, their facility is in Logan, Utah, which is
Okay.
about an hour-ish, hour and a half north of Salt Lake. And so it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. I mean, you're
Hmm.
driving through a bunch of mountains. Like we saw like a bunch of cows or sheep, whatever,
Nice.
along the way. Literally in the middle of just a beautiful region of Utah, and just suddenly you'll see this prototype coaster out in the distance. Like whoa! And I think that's where they built the prototype hypersonic XLC. Actually, was in that spot.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I saw that on like a poster or something there.
Wow,
It's
that's
pretty
really
cool.
cool. Um, was there like I don't know if like the actual factory, did you guys do a factory tour as well, or was it just writing the
I
prototype?
didn't because I was busy writing Access the second time.
Okay.
The rest of the guys in my group kind of went through it briefly because they had to use the bathroom, and to get to the bathroom, you had like walk through
Oh.
everything. And so along the way, they just showed him everything. And yeah, there was like a bunch of parts. I remember seeing some stuff for the King's Dominion free spin before it's actually moved over to King's Dominion.
Oh wow.
So I've seen Toombili with my own eyes,
Dang.
the monkey coaster. So yeah, that was a really cool experience, and definitely worth going out. I mean, as long as you get the invitation, don't just show up as a
Yeah.
random nerdy enthusiast. I don't think they'll like that, and you have to like sign a waiver too. I forgot to mention that you have to sign a waiver saying that they're not responsible for any injury or even death. It says like, which is nerve wracking at first until you realize nothing's gonna happen. I mean, people have written this thing.
Yeah.
When we were there, there's like a lot of bigger names. They try to get a group of multiple creators at the facility at one time to ride Axis so that they don't have to operate it on numerous occasions because it saves expenses and whatever. And so they had Coaster Studios was out there, OBC was out
Nice.
there. Who else was there? I think freaking no, I don't even remember the name. Just those 2 guys. Those 2 channels were out there the same day as us, and we got to briefly meet and hang out. Oh, Midway Mayhem was there too. I forgot to say that.
Oh nice.
So just like a bunch of the bigger guys were out there the same day, just so that they can save costs, I guess, running it, or at least people are busy at work there, so they never always have the time to just operate it for anyone. So they have to make sure that they operate it when a bunch of people are there while they can. Yeah.
Nice. That's like such a unique experience that you have, so it's
Mhm.
awesome to hear about it.
It was really
Uh,
fun. I loved the prototype itself. And the launch too. I forgot to talk about the launch. It's probably not going to be common on the other Axis coasters, the permanent ones. That was, however, my first air launch, and
oh
that was
wow.
ridiculously intense.
Wow.
There's a video of me like a rider cam on Axis, and you can see my whole body lift up on the launch. It's like you get airtime on the launch. It's pretty crazy. And that was
Wow.
actually what stole the show for me, is that launch, even though it had nothing to do with the technology. But then, of course, right after you flip onto that one thing, which is a really fun inversion right there.
That's that's great that your first air launch was on a
It was on
prototype
a
coaster.
prototype. I know. It's so funny.
That's really cool.
In my defense, there's not a lot of them in the country, unless I like rode Max Force or something.
Well, I mean,
Is-
technically, well, if you've ridden an S&S drop tower, technically that
Oh
would
yeah,
be an
that's
air
true.
launch, but it's not on a coaster, so I won't like say that. So, no, that's
Yeah.
really cool though.
And I remember them saying, by the way, um, this is a nerdy fact. There's like a little regional airport right next to the Axis prototype.
Oh
That's the
wow.
reason they didn't build it with a lift hill. They built it with a launch because they wanted to make sure it was short enough and it wasn't a
Oh,
disturbance to the airline right next to it, or the not the airline, airport right next to it.
wow, interesting.
Yeah, so there you go. This guy says I've heard that the Axis is basically a modern aero suspended. Yeah, but it's definitely considerably better than the aero suspended though. But it just definitely feels like a modern version. Like the rotations are very smooth. Yeah,
That's good to hear because that would have been one of my questions with that just because it has the rotations. It's like how smooth is it? And it sounds like it is
extremely
pretty.
smooth.
So yeah,
That
that's
like
good.
smoother than the free spins. It's
Wow.
pretty
Oh, I haven't
amazing.
written those, but most people probably in the chat have. So
Hmm.
dang, that sounds really good then. Hopefully we get to see one of those very soon. Would be
Yeah, I hope
awesome
so. I
to
definitely hope
ride
so.
one.